battle over religion continues to rage in America's state legislatures, following the furor over so-called RFRA laws in Indiana and Arkansas that critics charge commodified discrimination in the name of religion. A different sort of fight has been playing out in the state of Tennessee. Now, Tennessee, like every state, has a lot of official symbols. Its official amphibian, of course you probably knew this, was the cave salamander. Its official tree, the tulip poplar. Its official folk dance, the square dance. And this week, lawmakers came pretty close to naming a state book as well.
A bill that would make the Bible the official book of Tennessee passed the State House. The vote came in at 55 to 38.
That's right. Tennessee's State House yesterday voted to make the Bible the state's official book. Now, you may be saying to yourself, hey, wait a minute. This is America. We've got the, separation of church and state thing as enshrined in the First Amendment. You know who else feels that way? Tennessee's Republican Attorney General, Herbert Slattery, who pointed out that making the Bible the official state book would violate both the state and federal constitutions. The sponsor of the Bible bill, Republican Representative Jerry Sexton, tried to get around that particular inconvenient truth by arguing his bill was about highlighting the Bible's role in Tennessee history instead of pushing a particular religion. More than half the people in Tennessee identify as evangelical, and politicians are not eager to be seen as anti-Bible, which helps explain why opponents of the bill, like Tennessee Senate Majority Leader Mark Norris, argued that by naming the Bible the state book, alongside the official state tree and state amphibian, Tennessee would be devaluing it. All I know is that I hear Satan snickering, Norris said of the bill. He loves this kind of mischief. Okay, now, if that's true, Satan actually had a pretty bad day. The Tennessee State Senate killed the Bible bill today by sending it back to committee, though it could be revived next year. Joining me now from Memphis is Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee. Well, Congressman, first of all, your reaction to the Senate essentially sending this back to committee?
Well, I'm pleased that the minds that understood the separation of church and state prevailed, the State Attorney General and the Majority Leader Mark Norris and the Speaker of the Senate. So it was sent back to committee, and that's a good thing. It's unfortunate that so many people did support it and didn't understand the foundation of our nation and the separation of church and state that's so important.
You know, it struck me watching the debate and actually watching prominent Republicans get out ahead of this and condemn it, including, I believe, the State Attorney General, some leaders in the Senate, the governor also, that this was, in some ways, part of the after effect of what happened in Indiana. We've got polling out today that shows Mike Pence's approval rating has plummeted since the RFRA law passed in Indiana. He had to kind of try to walk part of it back. There is a fear about the spotlight that might come on a state if it is to pass something of this nature.
Well, it would certainly be embarrassing in Tennessee, and we had the Scopes trial about 100 years ago, and it seems that we have not progressed that far from Dayton, Tennessee. There was an attempt to have a RFRA-type law in Tennessee last year, but the local media shamed the Senator Brian Kelsey into dropping the bill before it got very far, and that was fortunate. But Tennessee's always been a state that's very much immersed in the Bible, and the Republicans have a split in their party and always have between the establishment Republicans who understand the separation and understand law, and then the more conservative salt-of-the-earth Republicans. And in Tennessee, the salt-of-the-earth Republicans obviously have a majority in the House, and it's been unfortunate, and they have not been living by what I understand the Bible to be because they haven't extended Medicaid to the poor people who need Medicaid in Tennessee. There's about 300,000 people who've been denied. While the legislators get government insurance, they deny it to 300,000 Tennesseans because it's called Obamacare and deny $1 billion to come into our society. So if you believe in the Bible, you would believe, I think, in the New Testament, the idea of love thy neighbor as thyself. And when that neighbor doesn't have an insurance and you do, you're not really living the Bible. So making it the state book is not really sufficient. It's the good things that are in the Bible that need to be played out in terms of loving thy neighbor as yourself, or do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, or those type things that we should lead with and espouse and find as virtues.
Were you surprised by the vote in the House that it was as lopsided as it was for something that I think most people saw as clearly, almost facially unconstitutional, both by state and federal standards?
No, I wasn't surprised at all. I served 24 years in the Tennessee State Senate. And, Chris, I was the only person years ago to vote against the ban in the Constitution on gay marriage. And the guy that sponsored it...
You were the only one?
I was the only one in the entire Tennessee Senate and House.
What was it like?
And the guy sponsoring it in the Senate was committing adultery, and I brought up a proposition to say adultery was the main threat to marriage. And he, with a straight face, went on with saying gay marriage was the threat to marriage.
Wait a second. What was it like to cast that vote, to cast that lone vote against that change the state constitution when you did?
Well, it was I've never had a problem being different, and I was also one time the only person to vote against a resolution that went through to say that all businesses and people should post the 10 Commandments in their businesses and homes, which was clearly violative of the Constitution, and there was an opinion to that accord. But everybody else voted for it. The politics of it, people don't like to have anybody come against them, especially in some of the hinterlands, and say you voted against God. But the people have used God for politics in this part of the country for many, many years, that's debasing religion, to use God for your own political prospects and future and points.
Yeah, it does seem like the Bible's got enough going for it that it doesn't need to add a state book of Tennessee necessarily to its resume, although I'm sure any book would be happy to have that.
And I know the salamander is one of God's creatures,
yes,
and so are the tulip poplars, but I don't think that the legislature should have to choose it. I think it should stand on its own merits, and its value should be within each person's individual conscience and beliefs, and value the Bible and put it up at the level they want to put it up at. And some people wouldn't want to put it at any level at all, but each individual in America and in Tennessee have that right.
Representative Steve Cohen, always talking sense. Thank you very much.
Good to be in with Chris.
All right, we spent